think I'll start the recording from here. Welcome to Ariel's Life Hacks. This subject is going to be about playing the long game and how do we not just create acquaintances, but actually have relationships that lasts us, businesses that last us, ideas that last us, and nurture those things so they just don't die on the vine or it's just a one-off, everything. And also, how do we keep in mind that sometimes in life, when it feels as if we're staring at this brick wall or into this hole, and it's like we can't really move anywhere, but as they say, it's not over till it's over. There's always going to be next year. And then it's that one time that you think you spoiled like a shot that you had, or you messed it up, and you think it was like the only shot that you're going to get, when you don't know there are like thousands of other shots waiting for you in the future, and you're too what's the word that I'm looking for, uh, uh, you're too attached to that. You get so attached to one moment in time, or one relationship, or one small game, that you don't look at the big picture. And I think that's what happened with me and this other app that I was on, to, I don't even want to mention its name anymore, that I lost access to. So, and then I realized that in my life, so many times I lost access to people, to friends, to opportunities, only to have a better one waiting for me in the future that I would have never even thought of. So that also ties into the long game. It's like, don't think that one little opportunity that you lose and it's the end of the world, when a lot of those things in your life can come back to you. And even when that opportunity that you lost, and that you get so disappointed and frustrated, and then sometimes you get a better opportunity, and that same opportunity that you wanted so much presents itself again to you, and you can even be in the position to reject it because you already have something better. Now that's really thinking in the long game. It's like there's something in the future that you don't know about, that's just waiting to be discovered, but you're too attached to the past. So yeah. So with that, yeah, I'll go to you, Goat. Go ahead.
Yeah, bro, I completely agree with you. I was just letting everybody in here know. Hi Mercedes, hi Ari, hi Silver. What's good? Joseph. Um, if you have anything to say or to add, just raise your hand and Ariel will call on you, or Bryce will call on you, or I'll call on you. But I'm gonna invite some more people. Hi Nafisa. But yeah. So Ariel's talking about playing the long game. I think everybody in the world can relate to that because we're all just trying to plan for our future. So, if anybody wants to chime in, feel free to just raise your hand. Make sure that what you say contributes entirely to what we're talking about. If you're, what I'm saying, if it's not entirely going to contribute to everybody in here, please don't raise your hand. Please don't say anything. I'm not talking to the women in here. I'm talking to the men. Please don't say anything out of the ordinary in this space, as Ariel is having it recorded. So please just be respectful to everybody in here, and just keep in mind that this is a very professional space. But go ahead, Ariel.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, who was it? Squidget had their hand up. You want to contribute something?
Yeah. Hi everybody. I guess the first thing I feel is like, obviously, which is easier said than done, which is like, delaying that feeling of just, whatever it is going to get you there. You say, okay, I want this, but I have to do this, this, and this to get there. And instead of those three things, if for example, like you can do three other things entirely, or two out of those three things and still not get there. So it's just a matter of being, I think
Well,
100%.
true.
Or
It depends on your definition of getting there. Everybody has a there that they're getting to, and I find it interesting that it's usually not. Sometimes the stereotype is that people are lazy, so they don't get there. but it's not. I feel it's more confusion, and I feel it's more like a lack of good mentorship that people don't get, quote unquote, there. It all depends on where your there is, right? So, with that being said, I think Goat had his hand up, and then whoever else wants to speak, you can put your hand up too.
Yeah, I just was gonna say, back to what Ariel said. You just have to believe in yourself. Hi E, hi Blaze, hi Amrit. Y'all can come up here and speak. E, you're echoing a little bit, so if you could like mute yourself.
Yeah, please.
But you need one more co-host, Ariel. So you should definitely um
Yeah,
make
it won't
Bryce
let me. It
co-host.
won't let me accept. I'm having
Oh,
some
okay.
trouble. Yeah,
Just
so
just leave, just leave and come back, bro. But no, what I was gonna say is I agree with Ariel. You can't just like doubt yourself. If you're thinking about your future and you're trying to plan for your future, the last thing you want to do is doubt yourself. Like we all have speed bumps in our life, but it's about getting over them. Like you got to treat it like a mountain, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. And you're trying to get to the top of that mountain, like life, your accomplishments and things like that. And you're not if you're really trying to get to the top of the mountain, you're not just going to give up. So, you can't just doubt yourself like to get where you're trying to go. That's even if you do make it to where you're trying to go, it's still gonna like hurt a little bit more because you're still doubting yourself. So you might make it to the top, but it's just like you're still having doubts and still having insecurities. Like you gotta think about your future and think about where you're trying to go.
Right.
Like it's all about where you're trying to go. It's not about where you
Exactly.
already been. So
But go. Let me make one small caveat to that. Think about your future, but don't. I think I make the mistake that I thought about my future so much that I became so obsessed with like what's gonna get me there, what's gonna get me there, that I didn't look at like I didn't think that I should just also cut myself some slack. Like I would just make myself miserable by telling myself like no, I'm not going to play this video game, or I'm not going to eat this candy, or I'm not going to go out with friends because my future, my future, my future. And I just got so obsessed that I just forgot to live life. You know what I
I'm
mean?
I'm really I'm really glad you brought that up, bro. Honestly, because it's important for us to cut ourselves some slack. Like,
Right.
success will come, but we still
Right.
all work and no play. You know what I'm
We
saying?
deserve to
Can't.
be happy, you know, and
Yeah,
sometimes we
exactly.
forget that. Sometimes we're like so super hard on ourselves and so mean to ourselves. I think that we forget that what's the point of all this planning if I can't be happy in the now, right? What am I doing with my now? So exactly, think about your future, but don't become so tied to thinking about your future that you've planned this like whole thing and it didn't go the way that you know, we always make up these things in our head that I'm going to do this, and then when I do that, then this is going to happen, then that's going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and we get so trapped in that when one of those things like a monkey wrench flies in there, like this pandemic, and then one of those pieces doesn't fall into place, and then we like fall into a depression, right? And that sucks.
And
And then
I've
I'm
I've
like,
definitely been guilty of that, bro. So I'm
right,
so glad you brought that up.
right, exactly, and me too, because when I lost my capabilities for that, you know, that app that I was telling you about, I almost fell into another depression. But I remember that even when I lost I didn't get kept on after the season for a job, I fell into a little bit of a depression too. But I knew this time, like, no, 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 like doing this and just feeling bad and feeling terrible isn't going to get me anywhere, because I remember there was always something else waiting for me that was bigger and better than that thing that I thought I needed to get where I needed to go. And that's when you think about the long game, because falling into any kind of like depressive state just because you lost something you were so attached to doesn't really help you in the long run. And and you know, you probably fell into that thing that you were so attached to before by luck or chance. So who's to say luck or chance isn't going to strike again? So with that, I'll go to Bryce and then I'll go to Ari.
Yeah, thanks. So, yeah, these are good points, and that old adage is that patience is a virtue, right? So it's
Yes.
something it's something you got to work at, and it's funny because we were talking about this topic yesterday. It applies to so many things. I read this book earlier in the year called Thinking Fast and Slow, and your brain basically works in two modes, right? You have your quick reactionary brain, and then you got your more logical, methodical, analytical part of your brain. And I mean, in our hearts, we know like you're supposed to be patient. You're supposed to delay gratification. Somebody was talking about delaying. Like good things come to those who wait. There's another adage, right? But we live in a society that's geared for so much quick, instant gratification. Everything's fast food. It's now. It's access now, now, now. You're looking for shortcuts. You don't want to wait. You want the good stuff quickly. And I mean, that's just the way that the human mind thinks. It's like I said, you're got basically two modes of the way you approach most things in your life, and you don't even have to think about it. It's just something that feels good. It feels right. You're trying to your body's constantly trying to conserve energy, your physical body and your mind. So if you can get something quick that works, hey, that's that much better, right? But the problem is the real good things in life usually you don't really get it quick. The best things usually you can't shortcut if you really look at it. And I was looking at something earlier today. It was an old little clip of Jeff Bezos talking to Charlie Rose from 2010. And Rose was saying that's when Amazon they were still a power, but they're not like the superpower they are now. And it was pretty interesting. It was a little nugget of an interview, and he was basically asking Bezos, like, okay, well, how are you supposed to beat Walmart? How are you supposed to beat, this is when like Barnes and Nobles was still a big thing in the ebook category and stuff before Amazon beat the pants off them too. And he said basically they have a long-term vision. And he said when they roll out a new product or something big or a service, they already factor in that they're probably not going to make any money, or they might lose money for the first 5 years of that product or that service. But they said over the long term, they're going to establish a good customer connection, and then they'll start to reap some rewards and benefits from that after that. So it's a lot of these things are losing propositions. And if he didn't have that type of vision or that type of patience or that type of long term view or plan, they wouldn't be what they are today. And we all know what they are today. I mean, that didn't happen by accident. And there was one quote that got brought up, and then I'll let somebody else speak here. It says, every overnight success started years before. Think about that. Everything we want to apply to somebody getting lightning in a bottle, that person might have been working a long time, thinking about things, maybe had a plan. You don't know what they went through, but success doesn't really happen by accident. Anybody can get lucky, anybody can win the lottery and stuff, but a lot of these other things, they take planning and hard work and dedication. That's it for now.
All right, nice. We'll go to Ari.
Hello, good night, everyone. Like you were saying with the long drive, like with that, like with Benzino, I think that's what his name is. What you were saying? Um,
Yeah, he was talking about Jeff Bezos.
Bezos?
Yeah,
yeah,
Jeff
Jeff
Bezos.
Bezos.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Like with that, when it comes to playing the long game, you also have to realize, like he said, it took years. You have to plan out your plan. You have to have goals and like responsibilities. You have to like list them out, like what am I going to achieve? What am I going to achieve? Like, and also you also have to like a plan B also, and just in case you are not able to accomplish certain goals, you'll have a plan B instead. You'll always have that in order for you to have a long game. Planning is the most important step if you want to actually play the long game. Then the next step in order for you to play the long game basically also is to actually push yourself to accomplish the goals that you need to accomplish, and to make sure you have the resources and make sure that, say for example, I want to buy myself a car, I want to buy myself a house. However, are you financially stable enough to get that? Or do you have a job in order to get that? So if you don't have a job, how are you going to accomplish something like that? You have to actually make it work, aka you have to actually get a job and actually have the money in order to actually buy these things. That's the thing. When I'm talking about resources, you have to understand if you want to accomplish certain goals, you have to be able to look at yourself and say, I have to do this in order for me to get where I have to get, in order for me to actually play the long game. Then the next step, in order for you then the next step is to also have a drive. In order for you to actually get your drive, you have to actually push yourself. Whether you're depressed, push yourself. It's like when you have to complete an assignment for college or school or wherever, you have to push yourself because at the end of the day, you also, when you're actually doing an assignment or anything, look at the future. Look at, I'm not going to be in this position anymore. If I do this, I'm going to be farther in life. I'm actually I'm actually going to be farther in life. I'm actually going to be in a better position than I'm actually am now. I'm actually going to not be in this position anymore. And what I look at too, like when I have like certain presentations, because I don't like to do presentations. I look at myself and I say, this only one day. This is only one day I have to do this. I'm not going to be doing this the next day, next week, or anything. If I have something, I'm going to do it because it ain't going to take me that long. I'm going to do it and it's just going to allow me to be able to be in a better position than I am. Whenever you have some, when you want to play the long game, you also have to look at your future. Where I'm not going to be in this position anymore, my future is going to be way better. So when you play in the long game, you also have to look at that. Like, look at your future. Look how long you're gonna be. Like how long, like you're gonna be actually in a better position in the long run. You're actually gonna be in a better financial position in the long run. Once you take those steps, you're gonna be in a good position.
And
Right.
yeah, that was great. I mean, she said planning, and just real quick notes: planning, flexibility, and persistence. That's what I got out of it. But that flexibility is key, because you're thinking long term, like Ariel was talking about. He was already. You can have a plan, right? I'm at point A and I want to get point B, but point B, there, a lot of things have to happen to get to point B. If you kind of have this path in your mind, and then there's a deviation, then you're done. I mean, if you're not willing to be flexible or think, okay, not you get dissuaded, you're done. So it's like you have to be able. It's not going to go. It's probably not going to go the way you want it. If it's anything significant, it's probably going to be a mess. It's not a perfect straight line to get from A to B. Sometimes it's really wiggly, right? And so that's what my take was.
Sometimes just like a whole bunch of like zigzags that you weren't expecting. And when you're playing the long game, always expect the unexpected. Some, like a monkey wrench flying into something from nowhere, something just like popping up tomorrow, like losing, like just today I had a plumbing problem, right? It just comes, it just crops up, and you least expect it and all those things, but never kind of tell yourself like this is the end of the world, because it's never over as long as you have functioning neurons in your head. And always try to have like a creativity streak, like that kind of that. It's so important to have a creativity streak and not to be a robot, to like roll with the punches and to expect the unexpected and think of new ideas and new ways to do things and new relationships and new areas of things to explore, so you're just not stuck to one kind of thing. And with that, I'll go to Blaze.
Go ahead, Blaze.
Yeah. I was trying to get back on because my fucking phone just said, fuck it, I'm going to flip the screen or whatever. But yeah. Hello, guys. Yeah. I heard a lot of stuff about being adaptable in the sense that things won't always go your way. I'm always trying to adapt. I love being able to be free to do whatever I need to do, because I do this right now just to build up my wealth so I can do other stuff with it and things along that nature. Um, and one of the things that has happened right now, like to my car, uh, is just having some issues with the transmission, and I have to deal with that. So I always try to find some ways to actually do better. I try to find some ways to stay off the streets or whatever because first off, it's about to be fucking snowy, and not having.
Oh,
It's
oh,
okay. His phone probably died or something. But go ahead, Tokir.
yeah. Sorry.
So when you guys were talking about like flexibility and stuff, I was reading this book and this quote stood out to me. And it says the strongest don't survive, the most adaptable do. And basically, it kind of goes along with like what everyone was saying. It's like you got to be able to roll with the punches and like whatever happens, you got to adjust and be able to respond accordingly. And something that I kind of realized or like dawned on me was like everybody thinks like life is a game, but I think that's incorrect. I think life is the opponent, and the game is chess. It's all mental, and you gotta think a few steps ahead and kind of understand like what the possibilities are, what the next moves might be, and if that doesn't work out, what's the counter move to that. But that's really all I had.
Right, right. You're like preempting
Yeah,
something.
yeah, like just kind
Oh,
of.
oh, yeah. You just remind me. I so believe in kind of nipping problems in the bud. Like that is so important to understand that if you don't, take care of whatever the hell this is right now, it's just gonna grow and grow and grow. And
Mhm.
sometimes when you feel as if things aren't going your way, it's really, really hard, but as long as you're like, I mean, to tell you the truth, I mean, I didn't really feel like because I had this plumbing problem. I was just telling Bryce, maybe we should just like I'm kind of tired, I'm kind of not up to it today. I don't want to like not do a structured space and just kind of like have a little chat with you and stuff like that. But then when was it goat came in here and brought like all these people in here, I was like, you know what? Sometimes you just get these signals that you can accomplish something when you don't even feel like doing it. And then that signal just comes in, and then that just acts as fuel for you to just say, you know what, like let me accomplish it. It's hard, but like if you like, the long game is I'm making good relationships with people around me, so then they're kind of coming in as backup on those days where you feel as if like, you know what, I just don't feel like it. And then like your backup comes in, and then you're like, you know what, like I do feel like it because these people are all like, behind me. So it's always good to have that support. Yeah. So let me see. Yeah, so I'll go back to goat.
Yeah, bro. Honestly, that's one thing that we forget about the long game is like friendships and relationships that are gonna last forever. Like that's a part of the long game because just like you said, on your
Mhm.
days that you're not really on and you're more off than you are on, you need those people. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't need each
Sure.
other, but we do need each other at the same time because, you know, you've been there for me on days where I was off. Just like I'm there for you on days that you're off. That's what friends are for. You know what I'm saying?
That yeah,
And
that
when
that's
you
so
yeah,
important.
and when you have like positive friendships and relationships, like you're all in it together, so you're all going to reach your, you know what I'm saying, your goals, and you know what I'm
Right.
saying, you're going to get to your destinations
I
and
mean, as much as we talk about like privacy these days and how I don't want to, talk, I mean, this may sound crazy to some people, but yeah, sometimes I do wish people could read my mind just so they could know how I feel. Like I wouldn't, I honestly wouldn't mind it, right? It's like you want to read my mind, be my guest because my mind deserves to be read because there's some really important stuff up here, and like if I got paid for it, that would be better too. But but yeah, like that's the thing. I mean, I don't want to call myself selfish or narcissistic or anything like that, but if I had like a television show where someone just told me, hey, we're gonna pay you to like go on TV and just speak whatever is on your mind, I'd be like, hell yeah. It just be like, like, because that's just the guy. I wouldn't be like, oh no, that's private. I don't want to share. It's my. I'd be like, come, be my guest. I'll share everything. I'll let you know what's pissing me off, what my goals are, like the trials and tribulations I've been through. And hey, who knows? It might help someone. So with that, I'll go to Bryce and then back to Tokir.
Yeah, just real quick, the gentleman was talking a couple minutes ago about kind of life being a chess match, right? And thinking ahead. And anybody who knows me knows I'm big in Stoic philosophy, right? And the way Stoics think, one of their tenets is to not get shaken, right? That's the whole. It's there's more to it, but what they do is they try to iron out the super highs and the super lows. And one of the techniques they use is thinking ahead, right? It's like anticipating scenarios that aren't favorable and actually putting yourself mentally in those positions, like in a real way. Like, what am I going to do if, right? And kind of live that out in a very deep way. And it's not practicing to fail as much as it's anticipating that life is going to throw curveballs at you. You have to be flexible. And sometimes, when something happens that you're isn't expected, it could be a good thing, and that's great. And but sometimes it's not going to be. And if you're not flexible, that could end your story right there, whatever you're trying to accomplish. So part of that flexibility is anticipating these difficult or challenging things, and then when it does come up, you don't panic, and you
Right.
have you have a plan B, right? You have
Right.
a plan C, and that makes you very calm in the moment.
You know what I find that's so interesting? It's like they say it's not the strongest tree in the forest that survives the really strong winds. It's like the most flexible tree, right? And you ever and before I get to Tokir, I just want to make a point. Do you remember ever since like you were little, there were these like slime balls you could play with? It was like called gack, and it was really soft and mushy. And then you separate it, but you could always put it back together. It would always like turn into like what it was. But like, okay, so let's compare that to like a piece of steel. A piece of steel is like really hard, but once it's broken, it's broken. Like, there's no like doing it, like it doesn't mold. It's like once it's like wood or steel, it breaks. And but then with the gack, it's like there's no breaking something that's a liquid or something that's mushy. It's always like changing, and it can always come back together. So when you're too hard like that wood or steel in your head and in what you're doing, it's like you may think you're tough, but when you break, and it's going to feel so bad, and you're going to feel like, you're going to fall into like this hell in like your head. But if you're one of those people who are just like, hey, you know what? I'm soft and I'm mushy at this times, it's like, yeah, but then you don't break, because like if there's a person that's so strict in their head, and they're like, this either happens or I'm just going to go crazy. And then they go crazy, but they're only hurting themselves. But then there's one of those people that they're a little bit soft and they're a little bit nice, but nothing really hurts them because they don't mind, or they're like, they shrug their shoulders. So they have that kind of power in their head not to break when things don't go their way. It's like a lot of times, sometimes you see people with like disabilities, and but like some of these people with disabilities, like nothing ever like makes them really mad or hurts them or makes them go crazy. So in a way, that's a superpower, that they're not so attached to some outcome or attached to some people that they're going to go like crazy if that doesn't happen. And it's healthy, because in the long run, all that stress and all that anger is only going to end up hurting you. And who are the people that go into that the most? These ego driven alpha people are the ones who like end up like, unfortunately, like committing the suicide or doing something heinous. But you'll never see a person who's like like is not so alpha and can kind of like be a happy go lucky person lose their mind so quickly or break. So that's what I want to tell you. I'll go to Tokir and then to go.
I just had a couple of different responses for like the last two speakers. First, when you were talking about like, I wish people could read my mind. And again, it's not like necessarily like, not even an attack on you, but even with myself, where it's like, if you want someone to read your mind, I think you're just doing not as good of a job communicating what your own feelings and emotions are to the other person. And I see myself within that, more times than not, where, like you said, the small things that should be nipped in the bud and just addressed when they are there, tend to linger and just grow into this bigger snowball than they should be. The second thing I wanted to respond to was, I think, when you were talking about like the chess match and going through like all the different possible moves and like situations and stuff like that's healthy. And again, for myself, the problem is finding the balance of doing that without overthinking. And a lot of us, we get in our wrapped up in our own heads where we go through every single possibility, and it fucks with us because we think like there's a reality, or like there's a chance that every single one of those things could happen, and it just eats up at you. And it's really not, a good thing. um and then the final point would be probably like the alpha people, the ones that always like feel like they have something to prove, or like the ones that, you know are the ones that try to act the hardest, are the ones that need the love the most. And I don't necessarily know where that fits into the conversation, but I just felt like that's has something to do with it.
Yeah.
um but yeah, that's all I really had.
Point taken. I just want to say, like, no, I sometimes I wish, I guess like I communicate like really really clearly, but I just mean like read my mind, as in those situations where it'll be like really really awkward if you're just like walking down the street and you try to get into uh like one of those conversations with people. Some do, some don't, but it's like, if I'm just saying, if they could read my mind and just see that I'm just not some just random person kind of like thing. But I guess in a sense, there's so many like unique individuals like among us that we don't see and we don't understand every day. I guess I just mean like, not maybe not exactly somebody reading my mind, but just like a guy following my life through a camera and a speaker, so people can just see not what's necessarily in my mind, but my past and my trials and tribulations and all of that stuff. Like, I guess that's what I really meant by that. Not like, oh, I have so much trouble expressing myself. I just wish people were in my head. So it was, yeah. So with that, I'll go to Goat.
Um, yeah. To just to like, steer things back on track. I get what you were saying, Ariel. I get what you were saying. I understood everything you were saying, bro. I think that it's it's just important when you play in the long game to prepare. You know what I'm saying? And Ari was talking a lot about that. She's gone now, but my friend Ari was talking a lot about that, and well, our friend Ari, because that's E's friend too, and Mercedes, and Blaze knows her and stuff, and I'm pretty sure Michael's met her a couple times. I don't know if you guys have met her, but yeah, it's just really important to prepare, and a lot of people don't prepare because they don't they just think that they know everything, if you get what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you're humble and you understand that everybody has a different mind and everybody has different opinions and different thoughts, you tend to worry about yourself more than you worry about what other people got going on. And that's really basically all I was trying to say, is if you're really trying to win the long game, just worry about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you worry about other people too much, you're really just pocket watching, and it's not a healthy thing to do, because then you're not getting nothing done. You like, there's plenty of things like, it goes along with procrastination. Like, we've all got stuff that we need to do right now that we're not doing because we're on this space. Like right now, I need to put my shoes up because they're on the floor. You get what I'm saying? But that's just a slight example. So it's like, focus on yourself. Don't worry about everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And find people that are like minded. You know what I'm saying? You don't need people in your circle that where there's just going to be friction. You get what I'm saying? Because with friction comes fire, and fire burns, honestly.
Yep.
And people don't understand that. Like, you got to have people in your life where everything is just going to flow naturally. You don't want there to be no pressure. You don't want there to be any like uncomfortability. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's for both of y'all to grow or
It's
for the
like
group to grow.
today, if anybody is coming with any kind of like friction, pressure, energy, like I'm booting their ass out because it's like I don't need like after what happened with like my plumbing problem, it's like life already has all these monkey wrenches and BS's and like I don't even have my schedule for this week for work and I kept telling them try to give it to me in advance and it's like they're like oh okay and it like never happens and I'm like oh give me a break so we already have stuff so don't like
And
bring
9 times out of 10, when somebody brings friction or brings uncomfortability, it's because they're uncomfortable on the inside.
right
And you don't need people around you that are just like unsure about themselves. Like, we all have insecurities, but if you're not dealing with your own insecurities, you're just projecting them onto other people.
right
And that's disrespectful. And
right
that's honestly like not healthy. Everybody has their own opinions and stuff like that. But
for
you got to
sure
just let people have their own mind at the end of the day.
Unless like it's appropriate at that time
Yeah.
when we say like you can share like something and we can see if we can troubleshoot any kind of problem you have but if it's completely off topic and you just want to like flex a muscle or have like just see there's tons of people in the room that you want your own pity party then like there's a red flag right there
Yeah,
and
and it's not even about a pity party. It's just a matter of like, why do you got to be the elephant in the room? Why do you feel like you have to be the smartest person in the room?
right now
If
if it
if
was
you feel like if you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably the dumbest. And then on top of that, you're not around the right people because you're not learning at all. Like,
right
you'd rather hang out with people that are like, not up to your mental capacity because you want to be the smartest person in the room. When in reality, you could really learn something from almost everybody. So you should want to be around people that you can learn from. You
Yeah,
shouldn't want to like feel like you have all the answers. So
no,
yeah.
that's a great point. And somebody told it to me once because you always hear that term, smartest guy in the room. Somebody told me you should always try to be the dumbest guy in the room because that means you're going to absorb something from everybody else there, right?
right
And so, but to just add on, I know Mike has his hand up. Just chip in real quick on what Goat was saying before I lose it. Is yeah, you do have to take ownership. I mean, whatever your goal is, this is your goal. This is your thing. Whatever your long term deal is, it's about you. It's not about anybody else. And you can't really have a long term vision about anything if you don't have a plan, which is kind of the funny thing, right? It's
right
like you can get short term wins by catching lightning in a bottle, but long term stuff takes planning. So, in fact, when you say I have a long term vision or this is the long, I'm playing the long game on this, it assumes you have a plan, but like he said, a lot of people don't. So how can you have a long view on anything when you haven't even done the how you think you want it to work in your head? But once you do get that sorted out, it is on you. And if people want to be on your side, so be it. If they don't, so be it.
right
It's about you executing on your plan, and it's like their opinion is irrelevant. I mean, if
right
it
right and
right,
and then last but not least never ever try to drag someone to your side because that is like just you don't need that kind of stress and headache in your life I mean like that was one of my if I could go back I never try to convince bullheaded people of anything. I just go with those who would just want to understand and wouldn't show that. And with that, Michael, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to come up and share a little bit. I'm a little tired. I just got out of the hospital. Everything is fine. But to me, for life, I've always believed without a vision, the people perish. Now, that's a biblical quote. I can't help myself. It's just in me. So I'm not trying to offend anybody. So with a vision, to me, you do a short-term goal, a mid-term goal, and a long-term goal. And what generally happens as you're trying to fulfill your short-term goal, you'll find that life may have its ups and downs, its twists and bends, and it's like a roller coaster. And then your short term plan, because of different situations and circumstances, you may have to change your short term goal because of something that came up that's just literally impossible for you to be able to handle. Now, for me personally, I love coming into spaces like this because I learn more from everybody in every space that I have ever been in. And I mean that from my heart. I can't prove that. You either believe me or you don't. And all I know is that when I'm in the secular world, if I go anywhere, I don't open up to a lot of people except, if they want to talk, I bring up about the mental health thing as a mental health advocate. But as far as not getting burnt out, if you try to be the people's savior that you think you love or you just met, you're gonna just waste your breath. As Ariel said, bullheaded people. Me, I get on my knees and I pray that God soften that person's heart. I'm different than most if they don't pray. I mean, this is my style. It doesn't have to be yours. It's mine. And some may imitate it, and some won't. I like to try to emulate Jesus, and sometimes I'm good at it, and sometimes I fail, like everybody else.
Right.
As far as judgment, there is a difference between condemnation and discernment. Now, discernment is a way where you can see the fruit of what the person or persons are bearing. You're either going to make the tree bear good fruit or you're going to make it bear bad fruit. Each tree is known by its fruit. So if you are with people, you see their actions. I've said this several times in other spaces: bad company corrupts good morals. If you're hanging out with people who are corrupt, meaning like uh, prostitutes and drug dealers and stuff like that, even if you're not doing it, you'll be guilty in the eyes of the police because you're guilty by association, because you usually end up getting corrupt and getting into that. And then you end up selling drugs and doing stupid stuff and getting killed.
And it's
So,
not for the long game.
right,
Right,
right.
right.
But so
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that everything in life has a purpose and has a meaning. What I like to do, rather than look at the situation and say how negative it is, I want to learn from my own mistake. I want to learn what I did wrong so I can correct it. Why do it's kind of like the glass half full. You can either look at it being half full or half empty. I look at it always as a balance. I look at it
Right.
differently. And
And
so that's your midterm goal.
and what's so
You
important
know,
is let's see, before I forgot, uh you have to not make your life about getting back at a person or having hate for a person, because as much as that is like, that's not a strategy for happiness or for accomplishment. And I think that some people get so wrapped up, and even if they were a bad person to you, or you think that they did bad things, they say, the best revenge is a life well lived. It just, I used to have this like major frustration for some of the teachers that I had in middle school, and I tried to make some of my life about like getting back at them for some, in one way or another. But then I just thought to myself, my life is not going to be about like, oh, this person really bothered me or annoyed me, so once I get this, I'm going to shove it in their face that they don't have it, or I'm going to let the world know what like what a crappy people they are, and what kind of like crappy system they created, you
Yeah,
know.
that's why it's so important that you first forgive yourself. Don't beat yourself up in your mind and forgive the person that offended you. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. He doesn't say for you to repay it. He says he will. So keep yourself legal.
Right.
You know what
But
I mean? Keep yourself out of trouble.
right, right. Don't what's the word I'm looking for? Make a goal out of getting back at someone, because then they're just taking up real estate in your own head, and they're not paying for it. And with that, I'll go to Goat. He has his hand up.
And yeah, I think a lot of people just don't think about the long game in the first place. It goes back to what you was talking about, the instant gratification. We end up in messed up situations a lot of the time because of our own decision making. So yeah, it's important to just like, take accountability and then learn from your mistakes so you don't make them again, because then they become a choice. And if you really want to win at the long game, then you have to accept the fact that you're going to lose, if that makes sense, because you're not going to win every
Oh
time.
yeah, a
So
100%. And don't let a loss suck you into this idea in your head that the game is over, right? It's kind of like, when if you've ever played any of those Nintendo games or whatever game you like playing, you don't like jump into a pit and have like you have an extra life. So, you still have these kind of like chances to take. Have multiple bets on the table, multiple irons in the fire. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So if one of your projects goes south, you don't just like shy away from everything. You're like, that was just one project that failed. I have 10 other projects over here. It's like if you're a farmer, you just don't plant one thing. You maybe plant 10 things, and maybe you never know, like two of those things end up, growing. But as long as even one of those things end up growing, there's so much potential for the branches of that one thing that grew that you don't even understand like where it's going to go to or what it's going to lead to. So that's part of the long game, is to understand that this seed may have not sprouted or failed, but I got like 10 others or 30 others that who knows what's going to happen. So yeah. And
Yeah,
also
and
season to so yeah.
the other thing too is that when people get called home to heaven, sometimes we don't understand the reasons, and that's okay. It can cause a lot of confusion and hurt, and well, like a numbness, I would guess, in people. But God always has a purpose, and we don't understand all of His purposes. But I know that for myself, when I've lost loved ones, including family members, I know they'd want me to move on and be happy and live my life, and they would never want me to dwell in so much hurt because they love me too. My friends love me too, right? So when you lose somebody, it hurts, no matter who it is, even a pet. They get attached. It's okay. It happens. This is part of life. No one ever said that life was fair. That's for sure. And we've all experienced being mistreated unfairly. Every human being has. I don't know of anybody that hasn't. And we've all lost somebody. It absolutely devastates the person inside that loves somebody so closely. And that's why I said there's no right way of mourning. Everybody has their own way of doing it. That's their business. So long as they're not going to hurt themselves or somebody else, however they want to mourn, let them mourn. It's okay. Rest in God. Let Him love you. Read the Bible. It won't hurt you. Every time throughout the Old Testament and New Testament,
Uh,
several hundred times, God says in the Bible, I love you. He's reminding us that He loves us because we know that we have finite minds. And when we lose somebody, He wants you to know He'll never leave you or forsake you. Though you might feel abandoned, it's His hands that are carrying you through. Remember the footprints in the sand? That's what I'm trying to quote. You
mhm.
have a purpose.
Right.
Don't ever give up
And,
on that
and
purpose, and you
some
can
things
find it if you want.
are just an eventuality, even when it's like sometimes it's one of the worst feelings, and I can empathize with people that you think like, I'm putting in all of these hours and I'm putting in all of this work, and I'm just seeing nothing, right? Like nothing. And it's like, and no, but you don't understand, there's something underneath the ground that's growing that you can't see, and it sucks. It's like work, 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 work. I don't see anything, but there's some like root systems down there that are working. And my one of my friends, Boyce, who's been really busy. And as you all know, I supported Andrew Yang, and I'm part of the UBI thing. And I haven't talked about that actually for like a long time. Like Andrew Yang and UBI and all that stuff. But I saw just on the 17th that Boyce finally got an interview with Yang for an hour. One of and this guy, I've been talking to him for a long time. Like I've known him for 2 years now, and I finally said, look at that. He was the guy who was always following him around the country, always making media for him, always doing this, always doing that. And not only did he not ever get a chance to connect with him, I don't even think that some of the people, consultants or what have you around Yang, even like did anything with him when he's been the most like dedicated, one of the most dedicated volunteers to do this, that, and the other thing. And the whole presidential campaign, he like I hardly saw him get any media attention or attention from any of his supporters until just 3 days ago he finally got an hour interview with him. So I just said, like, look at how long that took and look at how much work that he put in, that he finally caught the guy finally came. And the interview was supposed to be in October and it ended up being in December. And even when I got that job of like doing what I did, I said I like waited so long and I thought to myself, are they even considering me? Why the hell am I waiting this long for a response? But the response eventually got there. So sometimes either you're annoyed or you're pissed off that you're waiting so long for someone responding to you, or you're putting all this work and you're not seeing the fruits of your labor. As Bryce said, patience is a virtue. Even when I started this space, it was only me, Bryce, and Jason in here, and I was like, you know what? Like, screw it. Like, let me like not do this. And then Goat just shows up at the last minute, and then all these people come in. It's just sometimes you just gotta wait. Yeah. So that's my point. That's the long game. It's about
Yeah,
patience. It's
bro.
about
It's
waiting.
it's it's
Yeah.
about just having the right, like I was just talking about earlier. The long game is just having, like, building the right friendships and relationships early on, because those are the people that are going to carry your casket. Those are the people that are going to be there hugging your mother when you know what I'm saying. Like
Right. Right.
I think about shit like that. I'm like, who's going to be at my funeral? Like, who can I trust?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Things
I
like
had a
that.
phrase, right? Like you got to build a foundation to rise to the occasion. I don't care who you are or what you're doing. If your foundation is crap, once you get up to like floor 100, then the building's going to like collapse because like the foundation was shitty. Don't build a shitty foundation. Make sure your foundations are strong before you put something on top of it. It's like you wouldn't let a scrawny person who never lifted weights in his life carry like something huge, right? You're going to put the huge strong like buff person in the on the bottom, and then maybe he's carrying someone who's not that strong like like someone you're gonna get the like 250 pound like muscle guy to maybe carry like the 130 pound guy who just needs to climb and get on the roof and fix something. I don't know, but you want that thing under there that's gonna build. So even if you're gonna lose like floor 10, you're gonna go right back to like floor 1, and you're gonna know that you're gonna have that restart point that's not crappy. So if I like venture out of spaces into something, and all of a sudden, a person betrayed me, or someone tried to stab me in the back, or someone tried to do some shady crap to me, this I can come to this foundation and I can talk about it here, so I can launch and use this as a launching pad to get to wherever the heck that I want to go. And if that place ends up being shitty or not good or not what I expected, I come right back here and I plan out whatever it is with my best friends. Right?
Yeah, bro. On God, just like having the right people in your life is really like key to success. It really is, just because you only as strong as your weakest link. That's why you got to be strong, so that your weakest link is just as strong as you, and then you don't have no weakest link. Everybody just is the same. Like everybody's on the same page, and everybody can carry the same weight. That's just what I'm learning, honestly.
Right, exactly. And if you have like, 10 strong links in the chain, and then there's like an 11th one who's like a spy or a saboteur or a bullshitter, you know that it's not going to like destroy the whole thing just because there's one of those people, because it's going to take a lot more to damage what you've created, basically.
Facts. It's getting late, bro. I'm probably gonna like wrap it up for myself and just go lay down and stuff and watch some
Love
TV.
you, Goat.
But I love you too. I love you too. Honestly, I love you, Mike. But yeah, it was good chopping it
Cool.
up with everybody.
Same here.
Uh, yeah, love,
Okay.
bro. Love,
Actually,
bro.
since you said that, I think it's a great time. I think I started this around 6:20 for like finishing thoughts about the long game. So
Okay.
anybody, go in order. Let's see. I'll start with let's see, Tokir, if you want. Let's see.
I'm gonna ask my boy Rondell, before we close out. Rondell, how do you practice the long game, bro? Like, how do you premeditate success and things like that?
Oh well, bro. For me, man, I go back to my foundation that I've been using since I was 19. For me, it was putting Yahuwah, as we know his name, God, and Yahuwah, as we know his name is Jesus Christ. Just putting him first in my life. I meditate, I fast. Um, I changed like the people that I hang around with. Like especially for me, like growing up around nothing but drug dealers and like scam artists. Like I separate myself from people that isn't like minded. I mean, and I basically I isolate myself from like my whole circle and just moved from Jersey to Oklahoma and just started all over. So that's how like I start seeing early success, and just like educating myself on things of the future and like what things in the future is going to be the next like big thing to pop. So I'm just like I try to be a futuristic person. I like to uh, I like to look at each year as a year to get better, to learn something new, to advance in life, to basically evolve in life. I try to take one day as 1% every day, get better 1%, so that in 365 days you can try to be 365% better than you were that year you started. Um, yeah, then I just like man, I just I try to stay positive, bro. I just try to keep optimistic view of life. I try to have open opinions, keep open opinion about people's perspectives. Don't try to be judgmental, and I try to love everyone as I want to be loved because I know at the end of the day, tomorrow can be my last day, and if I can share love and show some my love today, then I mean I'm getting I'm becoming closer to having the heart of God. So that's it.
Facts, bro. Heavy on that last part. Or one of the last parts you said. Heavy on that last part for real. But heavy on one of the last parts you said. It's just like, you know, you're not going to succeed if you're being judgmental. Like, and if you do succeed, it's just going to be a lonely life because nobody perfect at the end of the day. You know, we can't just, we can't expect people to want success for us if we don't want success for other people, if that makes sense. And you don't have to want success for everybody, but it's just like, just know who you really believe deserves, your grace, if that makes sense. uh I'm gonna go to Silver because Silver hasn't said nothing all night. So is there anything you would like to say before Ariel ends the space about the long game?
Oh no, I just wanted to thank you guys for hosting this.
No, yeah, Ariel,
I
this was a great topic, bro.
Yeah, and I guess just remembering not to like dwell on the speed bumps that happen in life. um, so because yeah, I'll do that often, and if you keep pushing, great things may happen. It may not be exactly what you had pictured, but great things will happen.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank
That
you.
was that was deep. That was real. Thank you, bro, for real.
Succinct. I
Um,
like that.
yeah, on God, for real. But Bryce, you want to close out before Ariel closes the space? I don't know if Bryce is there, but go ahead, Ariel. Or actually, I'm gonna ask E real quick. E, do you want to say anything before Ariel closes the space?
I'm thankful to be co-host and just even to participate. Honestly, it was super insightful. I gained a lot of knowledge, and I love learning. I love being a part of a community where we can all just kind of learn from each other. So I'm super thankful, super blessed. Much love to everybody. Thank you for spilling just your perspective on things. It's super insightful and it helps me reflect a lot. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my me and Bryce were gonna have a life hacks on gratitude and thankfulness. So I think that was like a perfect like segue. I mean, what like if you think about it, what's the host without their audience, and then at the same time, what's an audience without their host? So when we play the long game, it's like we have this kind of like mutual respect that like like I shouldn't be abusing my power, and also nobody should be taking advantage of my kindness. Like that's I think like that's the perfect balance. And as the room gets smaller and it's gone on for a while, I just want everybody to remember, like life is a marathon and it's not a sprint. So that's the kind of like mindset we should be having when we're going into the future. So thank you everybody for coming. I'll probably see you in one of my next town halls, which is usually a
Thank you,
Friday.
Ariel.
Yeah, or another life hack space on Sunday. But other than that, I'm here. You just check the top if you're following me, and whenever I'm having a space, all you're free to join. All right. Good night, everyone. Bye.